Cool. Welcome. Welcome today. Really happy you came to join my talk. I'm going to talk to something I'm worried about. And as I understand, worrying is not a positive emotion. So I'm apologizing in advance because if I deliver a proper talk today about this topic, you will all go worried home later on. So, sorry. So, my name is Helma. I am a security and privacy professional, and I work at SURF. And SURF is an ICT cooperation on top of ICT in the educational sector. So we deliver all kinds of services to universities, higher education, vocational education, and even university medical centers, research institutes. And it's really awesome what they do at SURF. So it's an intriguing job that I have as an information security officer because we have like 60 small companies. And with a reference to Yaya Balou's talk yesterday, they all need to go through that improvement cycle. And I understand a little bit of what she said yesterday because we're going through that with 60 services. So, to give you an idea. Okay, we deliver identity access management services, services like network connectivity. Also, we do some advice about privacy and security. And for me, this is where it gets interesting, because I like to talk about topics like client-side scanning, encryption, and usually when I talk about topics like that at the Bruin Café in our village, they gaze at me, and conversation stop. They need to go to the toilet suddenly or something like that. But you are here, so I guess you really want to hear something about it. So I won't bother you with all my hobbies today, but I think this picture of me on the TT circuit in Assen is really awesome. So I don't get to share it that often, so I thought, well, let's embrace the opportunity. And as we can have an all-women lineup, women can also race on a circuit fast, even when you're blind with one eye, like me. And actually, the other bikes you see in the picture, they're also women. So, women can do this. So today I'm going to talk to you about chat control, which is absolutely an incorrect word. Because it's compact, but it doesn't say what the intentions are of the proposal about it. So what is chat control? The EU wants to combat digital or also non-digital child sexual abuse material, photos, videos, that kind of thing. I know no one who doesn't think it's really important to do that. And it's a problem which is growing bigger and bigger, and we can do more about it. So far, so good. This is also what the European Union wants. However, the way they want to do this has been widely discussed between privacy and security experts. There are two tools they use for this, and what they want is a EU center surrounded by this topic, about this topic, child sexual abuse, material pornography. They want service providers to detect, block, prevent things from being uploaded or shared. And report them to police, law enforcement, Europol, for prevention, detection, prosecution. So, and the tools they want to use are client-side scanning and backdoors and encryption. So, the abbreviations, I'll just walk you through them because I'm going to use them. CSS, client-side scanning, is when you scan for targeted content on a device. I will use encryption backdoor, which is like using keys to decrypt encrypted communications, and CSAM, child sexual abuse material, and mostly digital for my talk. So, chat control would entail a mandatory module on a device to scan your communications, photos, mostly video, even because the material nowadays, 70% of it consists of videos. And of course, like I said, we are going to use keys and CSS that they want to be deployed. And the first, the backdoor opening keys to encrypt the communication is, of course, what we would call a backdoor. And client-side scanning is what I would refer to as spyware. So it's a malware trick, it's a neat trick, but who would ever want it? So this is a slide from, I think a few years ago, where the countries in red are, they want the bill, they want to implement this, and the green are opposing. This is a more recent take on it, and you see the Netherlands went from green to undecided. They were also leaning to yes, but it's a real complicated discussion because who wants what in the Netherlands, I don't know with the current government, but you see there is a minority that is blocking the proposal. And so why am I talking to you about this? As far-fetched as it may seem, it is about democracy and preserving it for old and young human beings, everyone. What they are proposing is undermining democracy, and I will show you this. It can easily go wrong with the minority blocking. It's still on the agenda. It's not as fast as the Cyber Resilience Act Raluca was talking about yesterday. And with reference to the title of my talk, the challenge that I've chosen to accept for today is to fill it. I want to fill it the plans of the current approach of the EU about this topic. So we will slice their ideas, looking to it from various angles. I want you to be voices on this topic. And it's quite a long talk, so I thought I'd add a cat every now and then. So, as a micro break for you to keep track on where we are, because it's a little bit of switch in my talk. And this one is still running for its goal, young, eager, but so much to learn. So as a society, first some starting points, we need this triangle. A democracy needs lawful, ethical and robust laws. Sound, but difficult to maintain. So this is from a note from 2020 when they were introducing stuff for the proposal. And it's an alarming bit in it, because it says it's not only about child sexual abuse, but also fight terrorism, organized crime. So there is a kind of alert in my head, because it is now all about CSAM. And clearly they already realized the paradox between ensuring security and wanting access to electronic evidence. However, apparently they want to do it in a proper way, lawful, ethical, and robust. So I'm going to get back to what they say on this in the notes on a different slide, which is more readable. So the big question is, do the current plans match all the boundaries that they put in the note? Maybe in pink? No. So they want to do it properly. I put a unicorn, shiny. The data must be lawful, targeted, respecting fundamental rights. Everything is in here. In this slide, probably the necessity test is the most difficult. Think of questions like, is this the best way to achieve the goal, or is there a less intrusive way to achieve it? Is it proportionate to the privacy breach it will have? And will it achieve the stated purpose? So I'm circling back to this slide at the end of my talk. Okay, so let's sink our teeth into it. This is Bob, by the way. There's no Alice in my presentation, although we are talking about encryption. Bob is a mastodon cat, and I was allowed to use it. If someone takes a photo, I'm going to post it on Mastodon later on. So security and privacy belong together. And when the introduction was made, it was said, I'm going to privacy versus child safety, but that's exactly not what I'm wanting to talk about. I want a different approach. So we have to align our mindset with that of Bruce Schneier. Because if you talk about this topic, everybody talks about privacy. Yeah, you don't want to ditch privacy for child safety. Who are you? But it's a false dichotomy because it's a trap also. It's not even logical because if security is broken, privacy will be broken. So it is not about security versus privacy. It is about security versus security. And I'm going to make that clear to you. So during Hack in the Box in 2019, I spoke to Bruce Schneier, who is the one you want to talk to when it's about encryption. And he said something to me about that. Well, people who know Hack in the Box 2019 was actually a little bit different than I explain it now, but anyway. Bruce Schneier says, I'm going to read it. It's a security versus security argument. Using encryption for our phones and computers provides security, even if it holds law enforcement and governments back in spying on the bad guys. I think the internet is too important to society to weaken its security for the security value on spying on the bad guys. I think this is really important. There is even more. I'm not going to read it. Please download the note pages later on because I'll provide them. But he made a point. This is, we need informed choices. And before we even consider of implementing something like Chatcontrol, we need to determine the security value of the protection we currently have, or trading it for the security of catching more bad guys. Question mark, because it's not proven. When would weakening digital security for 450 million Europeans, or 500, I don't know exactly, when would it be proportional? So, one of the things they want to do is use a backdoor and encryption. So, bear with me, I've made it simple. This is the process. Someone has something, it's its own private space in the purple circle. Sends a photo, it's reliable with keys, and it's a reliable transfer with a receiver who can trust that it's from the sender. There are all kinds of trustworthy things in place when you use encryption. And this trust is an important topic. It's also in the Cyber Resilience Act, the need for more trust from consumers in products they use. We need trust in technology. Communications must be reliable. So in the digital world, robust encryption is one of the strongest foundations to which we can base that trust. And it's really important, for example, for investigative journalists. They can do their work without being monitored. And with a backdoor in encryption, they could be monitored. And we use it widely nowadays. But how did we get here to this proposal? Because in the past, the EU was a staunch supporter of encryption. This slide is not green for nothing. It is about money. Because if things are leaky, they can just snoop around. But if we use encryption, they need to do it targeted. Because otherwise they'd have to spend a truckload of money to surveil everyone. So maybe some geeks would use GPG or PGP 10 years ago, but your neighbor is now using WhatsApp or Signal and just has it as security by default. He doesn't have to do anything. In Telegram you need to do some extra stuff, but not in Signal or in WhatsApp. It's encrypted. So this is where it started. It would be a lot harder and a lot more expensive if they had to go after every individual well-secured system. So, and this is a slide that Snowden took with him. He took with him from the NSA top secret documents, classified documents, and really bad slides. You see, the response to improving security has been, for decades, trying to weaken it or circumvent it. This is 10 years old now, this slide. It's 2024 now. So it was 2014 when he took it with him, or 2013, I don't know exactly. And in the Netherlands, they even want to extend powers of surveillance to non-targets. So spying on journalists even, they want to allow. Through malware like Pegasus, what is kind of surveillance spyware, spyware stuff for governments. But like I said, good investigative journalists are important for preserving democracy, and they need to be able to tell their stories without interference of governments. And yesterday I saw somebody from Tool. I thought, well, let's just add a little bit of white, because maybe they're going to recreate my home door-key. This is Luke Skywalker, by the way, lying flat on his face. So if you weaken security, it is broken, because there's no such thing as weakening. Away with security by design or by default, we would have a flaw by default. Weakening encryption is breaking it. It is either protected or it is not. It is either broken or it is not. So humans be like, this is an important thing in this presentation, because we make photos. So this is a thing. When you have teenagers, this is a thing. We'd better discourage it. I talked to this about people who know this. They said, well, yes, if you go out, you still wear short skirts because men should behave. But this is something that gets into the digital area. It's digitized, so it can be anywhere in a very short period of time. And it doesn't go away. However, in a family setting, we make photos of small children running around naked in the garden, maybe on the beach. Don't do that anymore. Or in the bathtub, and it may sound eerie, but in a family setting, it shouldn't be that strange, actually. But teenagers maybe take photographs of themselves, exchange it with their besties, or with a boyfriend. It happens. And there's also this guy during COVID in America who took a picture of the genitals of his baby because they were swollen, and he was worried, and he sent it to the doctor. And Google saw that and blocked his account. He said, no, we can't have that. This is against our policies. So after it was made clear it was completely legal, there was nothing wrong with it, Google didn't reinstate his account, because they still said it's against our policies, it's harmful content. So he couldn't access his files and photos anymore. To get an idea what would happen if something is found that is flagged. We'll talk to that about later on. So, what I want to say, we should worry, of course, about sextorting, because that is abuse. Sexting should be fun. But whatever we do, or what schools teach, or what we parents teach our children, photos will be made and stored and flagged. And this is important to remember. You can't just stop making those photos. So, we've looked at society at large. We know a bit that we have to weigh security versus security. We know scanning is bad. We know weakening encryption is breaking it. And we understand that no matter what, we will take pictures. So our mindset that let's look with the black cat in the black box. So the main topic in this talk is the scanning of content. Videos, text, photographs. And the scanning should be done on the device. We will call in this talk what they want to flag the targeted content. It could be broader than CSAM. Remember? It isn't in the proposal, but it could be. So we'll get to how the content becomes targeted content and what being flagged means. So, where does the scanning take place? I'm walking you through this slide because it is important this gives you a grasp why we could feel our privacy is invaded. So, on the one hand, there's the private space, the private storage, or things that are intended for the private storage. So the yellow stuff you can have, is it white or yellow? I can't see it. is your personal, external devices, etc. There is a little bit of gray area on things you might upload to a service provider, but what is not intended to being shared. And there's also the public space where you share things publicly. And this is to give you an idea of when you feel your privacy is invaded. But before this talk, I asked for some feedback. Bert Hubert, who is in this audience today, hi Bert, he said, actually, you should say, and I agree with it because it's crucial in this talk, scanning is scanning. No matter what you call it, upload moderation, scanning is scanning no matter where you do it, on either side. We don't want to be mouse surveilled. So it's crucial that you start to worry because this topic still, the proposal is still not off the table. So we circle back to end-to-end encryption. This is where everything works fine. We have all kinds of things in place, and this is our right, by the way. We need this protection. We have secure key storage, secure key exchange, etc. Not diving too deep into it, we don't have the time, and it's a simplification. But this gives you a sense why client-side scanning could have the large impact that it could have. If you weaken end-to-end encryption, you see when data travels, they can look into it, and they open it with the keys they have to decrypt it. So your private space could still be quite safe, but as soon as you upload anything or it travels, then they can see what you are doing, which gives all kinds of points of attack where criminals could abuse it. When you start using client-side scanning, you see the border is now on the outside. Look, when people say, if you don't use end-to-end encryption, keys to decrypt when you do not use backdoors, encryption is okay. Yeah, but encryption is pointless. It has become useless. So if they say, if we do CSS, there's no problem with end-to-end encryption, I call BS on that because it's completely useless. So, and the impact on client-side scanning cannot be understated because it gives full surveillance possibilities. We have to trust that it's all okay, what they're doing. So there are two ways. How would the scanning be done? At the moment, we have two ways. It's perceptual hashing and machine learning. And now we're coming to where I got red flags. Perceptual hashing it worked with this one database with known images of pornography of children, and they are hashed. So a service provider can just use the list and scan for fingerprints of the same. It's very efficient, and the big perks of it is also its major disadvantage, because the list, you can't have, as a service provider, the material. It's not allowed. It's not legal to have the material itself. So, perfect solution, having a list. But who knows what's on the list, right? And maybe lists are refreshed with what content, with what fingerprints, we don't know. This works quite well. It can also, small differences, it can still match. So, we cannot know what images are on the list. That is bothering me, really. So machine learning also, and not a good word because machines don't learn. They are being told in advance what they have to do and then they decide. They can never choose. They can never learn, actually. So these models are trained on a specific data set, and from there they can detect new material. And it can be really creepy to think that whatever we do, there are no zero false rate. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a minute. I want you to see the similarities to both methods. Both are designed to make a match from a list. They need both access to unencrypted data. Both rely on a proprietary closed technique that works with a database of targeted content. Probably controlled by a third party. Maybe it's something they put in the EU center. I don't know. An image goes in, the determination comes out, and both can be circumvented, and we cannot know what is the targeted content. So, Trojan horse, maybe, if you get this on your device. We know from the note in 2020 that they also talked about terrorism and organized crime. And we also know software can be abused, and it will be abused, also by governments. I'll get to that in a minute. We have server-side scanning. You see the yellow software loop, that's where they would scan. I put a targeted content provider at the bottom, could also be in the EU center, I don't know. This is about the process that would happen with the scanning. So the service provider performs its scanning, and if some content is flagged, it goes to the EU center. They decide, should this be Europol or no? If it's not pornography, they just keep it in the database for statistics, and otherwise it goes to Europol or the police. And for this talk, we assume new material can easily be added to the list or the database. But it's not that easy, because if Instagram discovers something and Facebook doesn't, or YouTube, it is more complicated than it sounds. So, but I'd refer to research by Carolina Cristofoletti about that, in-depth information. But for now, there can be new material. They want also check for grooming and new material. Yeah. And video stacks are raising, so probably smart to do. But this is also why countries are not aligned yet, because not everyone wants the client-side scanning part, or the new material, sorry. If the list from existing material, I think our government was willing to say yes, but if that was used, but not with new material. Here it changes to the device. So the software is on our devices, and who would deploy it? Where would it be deployed? In the app or in the middleware? These are things that really matter, and it's not in the proposal. So I'm not going to dive too deep into this, but keep in mind, one security aspect, to touch that already, single devices of users are, of course, a lot harder to protect. So the scanning of content on devices of a client means that the party gains capabilities that do not exist at present. Are you getting worried a little bit already? So both methods, this is what I was looking for, do not have a zero false rate. And this is important, and it's really scary, actually. I took this from an article of Bert, comparing it to spam. Spam filters are never really perfect. So there are always false zero positives, and false positives and false negatives. 420 scientists have signed a petition saying, we know this technology, but for the ideas, we simply cannot do it. Making a spam filter is already exactly the same technology, but much easier. It just doesn't work that well, but the consequences aren't that scary for a spam filter. And the organization, Thorn, I'll get to some prickly stuff about that in the fun section, also makes the same comparison with the technique for spam. So you end up in a database and you never get out. And to give you a sense of devices, if it's connected, it's doomed. But just one slide back. Yeah, like the police in the Netherlands, they recently it was discovered they just don't do anything with retention laws. They keep stuff forever. So, and it's not that they're very good at protecting stuff, because the contact details of their staff of 65,000 was leaked. My sister was also impacted. So, but this is to give you an idea. It's not just your phone. We think Chatcontrol, our phone, our communications in WhatsApp, but it can't be just about that, because it would be pointless. Because we use so much more. We also use, like, Microsoft Chat and Teams at your corporation. What would happen with that? So a lot of it is not clear yet in the proposal. Terms like detection orders applied to interpersonal communication services. What would that even mean? So anyway, I think SURF is also, we do also offer hosting, storage. Maybe we should deploy stuff to scan. I don't know. We will be checked, or we will check. Service providers. This is what you think of. But I show you, this was in 2014 in the Netherlands alone. So it's huge. So now we've talked about how it will work. Now we talk about why it won't work. So you can wake up now. There are 3 privacy and security aspects mentioned in a really important paper that was inspiration for this talk, Bugs in Our Pockets, and people like Susan Landau, Bruce Snyder, Matt Blaze, Vanessa Teague helped to write that paper. It was published in January of this year, and they matched perfectly with our triangle: lawful, ethical, and robust. All 3 could go wrong. It's very difficult. Is it even possible? So problems, I already said, it's really hard to protect every single device. A corporate server could be better protected, so there would be worse protection of the system against adversaries. There will be new vantage points, and abuse by either authorized or unauthorized party. And by authorized parties, I also think of insider threats, like Snowden, who walked away from ideology with top classified documents, insider threat. Nick Leeson, who broke the Barings Bank because he had too much clearance for financial transactions. And our Dutch police got into EncroChat because they could be a man in the middle and circumvent the other. I think they were able to get the software renewed through their server so they could get in the chats. They didn't break the encryption because that's what they usually say on television. And the threat from the government is also real when they're authorized, because we know people or governments abuse their options. So Pegasus is a really great example of that. They want to spy on journalists. That could be done targeted with Pegasus. And these are, the pink ones are the impacted countries. Politicians have been spied upon, or governments have spied upon journalists or other people. So, authorized parties also. And these threats are real. I don't know why the AIVD has got 3 fish, by the way, in the logo. I had to look it up, and maybe cows would have been a thing. The threats are real, and the AIVD clearly stated that it gives the risks are too great. So this helped change the point of view of our government that was leaning towards saying yes. So now they're undecided. I don't know why. They're abstaining from a vote, as I understand, at this moment. And the problem with the backdoors, they will be used. And this is quite recently, China could use a backdoor to get into wiretap systems on service providers. So, yeah, don't use backdoors. There are some privacy and security principles that were mentioned in the slide with the unicorn, remember? These 3 are really important, especially for this topic. I've put the principles in the note pages, so download it. The thing is, the implementation of these principles cannot be done in a way that helps achieve the way they want to reach the goal. The text is not sharp enough, I think. Okay. So, to highlight one, in practice, the technology could easily be abused. Providers could be ordered to change some settings, while they would not be able to establish what these settings are, what it means. Technically, moving content scanning to a client empowers a range of adversaries. So it is critical, it doesn't do anything what it shouldn't do, because it could scan anything, also stuff that was never intended to be shared with anyone. So how can we do this if the list for matching is undisclosed? Transparency, accountability, audibility. This is what we need in a democracy. We need to be able to establish if it's correct what happens. If you get a fine for speeding, you can ask for a photo to check, how can I defend myself? What happened? Would a lawyer be able to see the material on which a flag was based? Would he be able to defend his client? So some privacy risks, well, I touched most of them already. Because if this will be used, we do not have autonomy anymore. And everything like GDPR, etc., I think we could just throw it in a bin. So you cannot have a functioning democracy without confidential communication. This is a position paper. I'm just touching it. 9 points were drafted by the Cybersecurity in Netherlands. And you can see I've already checked them. There's always a red flag somewhere in our beautiful triangle. So, some legal stuff. And don't worry, I'm not diving too deep in. It won't get boring. Actually, the legal stuff is really important because that's what gives us protection, right? It's not privacy. It's, rights that we have. Privacy is actually not a really good word, I think. So, we're just going on, touching the surface. A law must not only be legitimate, it must also be able to reach its goal. So, of course, it must also be ethical. We don't want killing of Jews being legitimate again, or slavery, or segregation for that matter. So laws can be legitimate but not ethical. So keep that in mind. But it must be able to reach its goal. So client-side scanning, if it wants to reach its goal, it has to be omnipresent, because otherwise it would be pointless. GDPR says encryption and access management provide the most important protection. The EU proposal says breaking encryption and permanent access offer the most important tools. So this is also what I find really important. Mayors of our communities in the Netherlands oppose to this proposal. And they are, of course, the mouth for the citizens in their community. Well, what we will have is exactly the opposite of what we need and want. The triangle is bust. And even, say it is introduced, it's implemented, would we be able to do something with it? Well, this was from an article when someone was caught some weeks ago in Enkhuizen in the Netherlands. He was already reported 2 years ago, but there was simply no capacity because our lives are online nowadays. So they can't go after everything that is reported. There's no capacity for that. This is also really important. Laura Draper did an investigation, and she says there are 4 aspects to child sexual abuse material, and all 4 need a different approach in combating. So how would we reach the goal with just one tool? And I didn't even say this yet, but what about the presumption of innocence? Like, you don't want people to roam around your house all day long to see if you have maybe something that shouldn't be there. You don't want that. Okay, the fun section. Yeah, there are some soapy-ish things that you may want to know. I find this really soapy-ish. So there is a proposal, but there is also, we want to exempt. We want to have exemptions for national security reasons. So I think, how would you do that? Technically, I have no clue. How could you? I don't know. Because scanning would be ubiquitous, right? It would be everywhere. How would you just exclude one device? I don't know. But also, if you have you introduce a proposal, but you want to exempt yourself from it, what does it really say? So this is Ilva, who introduced the bill, and she used political micro-targeting on her social media in the countries that were saying nay. She wasn't content with that, but it's not really a good thing to do political micro-targeting. I think we get legislation that it will be prohibited soon. So, and here is Ashton. Money again. If we need to scan, somebody has to build something. Someone will earn something. And how can we be sure that we're not subject to surveillance soon just to fill the pockets of Ashton Kutcher? And what's he got to do with it? He was on the board of Thorn, a lobbyer and big friends with Ilva, the one you just saw. So, well, there's been articles written about how they could profit from it. But this is also a fun thing, because he's not on the board anymore, because he was, they had a letter of support written about someone who raped 2 women. So, okay. Really, really strange. So here he is with our politicians. And also 2 Europol employees went to Thorn for lobbying, maybe, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, this could be a good logo, I think. And I also stumbled on this. This is a website, a Belgian website, and I think maybe they should rethink the domain name of the gateway to services of the government. Okay, breaking it down. I think there's 10 minutes left. Weighing it, will its security value offer more to society than protecting security and privacy as it is right now? And we can already say the security value of catching more bad guys cannot be determined, not yet at least. There are some clear conclusions. The proposal is not fit for purpose. I think we can all agree on that, right? Who doesn't agree after my talk? Are there people more worried now than they were before joining my talk? Yeah, I see answer, yes. Okay. So, well, I won't go into all of those, but, yeah, it's nearly impossible to achieve. It doesn't protect children. We need encryption. So, this is what the EU says they want. I've already crossed them out. We can say they need to go back away with the unicorn. We need a drawing table again. They have to go back to it. So now what? Well, we have to focus on the goal and not on the tools. Really important, because we tend to want to have something that can solve our problem. So, and yeah, what do we want? Do we want to keep security for society, or do we want to catch more bad guys? I bet you didn't know this one yet. So this is how you do it. Proper policing, and the German police is really good at it. This is 10 years ago, and sorry it's in Dutch, but a child porn network was busted by the German police. This is another example of 2021. It's a really big issue, and this is a quite recent one with also, it's also efforts of policing together with several countries. There's also an example in Australia where they went with maybe over 1,000 people involved to capture the one that was providing the child pornography services. They went through his roof, so he wasn't able to lock the computer. He could only leave for 5 seconds and it will all block. So they had a team to keep it in the air for a few days so they could capture more guys. Good policing, that is what we need. The right way is lawful, ethical, robust. So investigation and research done by humans. Let's put our money in that, because there's not enough capacity as it is already. And we know already who's reported, right? So investigate that. It needs to be targeted, and we need good, appropriate use of fitting tools like the police did with Encryption. So, as I said, this is one of the zombies that never dies. After 4 years, this proposal is still on the agenda. And I absolutely don't know why. And this is why I'm really more worried that there are more things at play here, like terrorism, organized crime, or it could be anything in that list, you know? And do we trust our governments? Okay. We reset it every 4 years. And what if the government changed their course? I don't know what's going to happen in America. I've been told it doesn't make a real big difference if it's Kamala or Trump. I know it would be for me in my heart, but yeah, so democracy is our way, and the plans do not fit at all with what we need and what we want. So be an advocate, make your voice heard. And I'm getting to one of the last slides. I've got one left after this one. So you are either screaming in distress right now, or you're yawning and want the next speaker. So credit where credit's due. I want to thank Bert for his feedback. Monique van der Borg, a friend of mine who I was able to perform this once as a test. And Arno, my partner, who is there in the audience also for his support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, I'm scared.
Maybe it's time for some questions.
There is, but I first wanted to ask one question. So I'm walking away tonight, going home with this scaredness in me. What would you say that I can do as an individual, when I go back to my company or whatever, to make this a thing?
That is a really good question, and I haven't thought about it.
Oh, well, think about it.
No, actually, because when I try to talk about it, conversation stops.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's a good idea because we're in here. They're all system breakers, like literally and mentally. Yeah. So.
Maybe just start by asking, because I did that on a train station a few weeks ago when I was stranded there. I just asked a mother and a daughter, by the way, can I ask you something? Did you ever hear about Chatcontrol? Not really. And I explained a little bit. No, I haven't heard about that. Oh, but that would be creepy. Yeah, so you could, it is a start.
Yeah, to make it known.
Because people do not know about this.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Other questions in the room? Oh, there are a lot of questions. I have now an assistant. Welcome, Tez.
She is cheating because she is wearing heels again.
Yes, again. My own fault, yes. Question.
I have a question, or the missing argument, the power consumption of such a system, because on the device it will be a lot of power to actually compare and correlate with lots of images and databases. And also on the server side, well, it's also a big, well, maybe not as big as AI, but it probably will be AI-like technology.
I think that's a really good extra argument for not wanting this and not wanting AI. Intelligence, it's not intelligence, it's just a word that it sells better than saying we have this algorithm query that, yeah. I fully agree. Yes.
Thank you. I have one more, not question, but one more point, I think, which is for against this. I think there is this case precedent in US related to Julia Merrow, if you know that, where she was charged with showing kids in the school pornographic content. And the investigation revealed she didn't actually click anything. It was pop-ups coming up on her screen due to some malware. So in cases where you start doing client-side scanning, you're infected by something, and these things pop up without you actively doing anything. You're still going to get guilty for this, even without doing anything. Yeah,
there is a huge problem with the flagging, and even if it is correct, maybe you weren't the one who put it there in the first place. Because when backdoors can be used, there are no backdoors just for the good guys. If you have a backdoor, anybody can get in. That's why I put the example of the Chinese in there. It will be used because, probably in this room too, some of the smart ethical hackers who can do complicated things like that. Yeah.
Sorry, a very quick addition as well. I think what you can do yourself is don't forget to vote whenever you can. That's your way to exercise your
democracy.
Right
Vote
and strengthen whatever party. Oh, sorry. Strengthen whatever party you supports. Is against this bill. And second, educate people about it. Like, give this talk now that you've seen it at your own companies to whoever you can reach. Maybe your friends and family. Maybe one day they will tell it to other people, and then at some point it might reach the right politicians or people that have discussions about this and make the decisions in the end.
Yeah, so you say vote and educate people about it. And of course you can use the inspiration from the slides I have here. Be an advocate, because that was my call to you.
Yes, thank you very much for your talk and raising this very important topic. As a mother, I feel you. And I was listening to a podcast where they mentioned that as a girl, around 16 years old, you create an account on social media, and within the first 2.5 minutes, and this amplifies to the first 8 minutes, you get a lot of messages about anorexia, and you really need to take care of your body and you're safe and nobody's going to love you. And this has not yet sent any videos, any images yet.
Mm-hmm. It's just
you just create an account and you get all this hate. And I'm thinking, why nobody does anything?
Yeah, well, that is, of course, it's a bit off topic, but I feel your worry. It's also in TikTok. If you look up, I want to be thin, there's also all kinds of anorexia, and they can't do anything about it. That's more the public space I refer in this situation. But that's also a worry. There is so much things going on in the digital world, and we actually have to do more about it. Not just the CSAM side, but also topics like this, protecting our children from harmful content. Absolutely. Yes. There was one question left, I think, over there.
Hi, I was wondering if you have any insights in terms of the evidence that they use to support the effectiveness of the client-side scanning as a way to fight against child sexual abuse, or at least what are the arguments that they use to convince us that their initiatives would be effective?
Yeah, they will use known material, so they already captured a lot of child sexual abuse material, and that's what they would use to match fingerprints. But the effectiveness of really flagging and capturing bad guys, we don't know, because we're not doing it yet. It cannot be proven yet, so I don't know. And like one of the persons already said, how can they prove it was you who planted it there in the first place? This is really difficult, and I can't provide you with a good answer except from we don't know yet.
Okay, we have to go on. I'm sorry. Will you be here this day today, Helma?
I will be here.
Okay,
yes.
so if you have questions, you can come to her. Thank you so much.